Ginger from My Sister Scrapper. Today is the day we're going to do the tutorial for this fun little Mintay Waterfall Folio that I created. And I told everybody that's going to be my Christmas present to y'all, was we're going to do a tutorial here. So this is the original right here. And it has the little accordion pocket here. And then it has the waterfall here, which are actual pocket pages. Now in the tutorial I did adjust my measurements so you won't have this kind of big bowing action going on here, so I did fix that. So we're going to go ahead and just dive right in. So what I want to do is, you know me, I don't like to use black when I'm doing a tutorial, although that's probably my favorite is to use black on a project, but I'm going to use the craft because it shows up a lot better on film. So I'm going to use, I went through my stash and I came across this collection here from Photoplay that I had called Christmas Memories, and I thought the colors lended it really well to craft paper. So I've got the 12 by 12 and I've got the sticker sheet I'm going to use, and it also came with a package of coordinating solids. So there's a lighter color and a darker color on the back. So I'm going to use those as well. So what you're going to need obviously is cardstock, medium weight chipboard, design paper. I am going to use a couple of magnets just because I like to. These are the kind I use. These are the basic gray. You can get them online at your local scrapbook store. Amazon might carry them. I try to buy mine at a local scrapbook store whenever I can. Scraps of Love, she carries them. Or if I'm traveling, although that's not happening a lot in 2020, I'll get them wherever I'm teaching at a local scrapbook store, because most of the local scrapbook stores all carry them, and I know you can get them online as well. So the basic gray, I use the small, and then I just grab the large because this is just what I've already got cut open. That's all I'm going to use. So here we go. Let me get my scoreboard and I'll give you all the measurements. Now, everybody likes me to like list everything down, but you know, y'all, come on. I don't have time. I'm so sorry. But just pause the video and get a little piece of paper and write the measurements down. If I have time, I'll put them in the description box, but don't hold your breath. Because I'm just admitting I'm just, you know, kind of not going to have time to do that. But I did want to get this done because I had told everybody I was going to do this, and I really wanted to make sure that I followed through. So you're going to need, again, a scoreboard. I'm going to use my envelope punch board to punch the notches. You will need to have some sort of a thumb pull on the little pockets for the waterfall pages, because the tags have to fit all the way down to the bottom because there is no room for them to stick up. So I'm going to use my envelope punch board. If you don't have an envelope punch board, just use a little 1-inch circle punch or a thumb notch punch or something like that to do that. So I am going to use that. And I've tried to do a little prep work, so I won't be here forever because, you know, my husband's doing all the editing on the video. So here we go. Let's get started. So for the measurements we'll do the covers first. You are going to need, for your chipboard, 2 pieces that are going to measure 4.5 by 9. Again, I got 2. 4.5 by 9, front and back. And then your spine piece, I did make it a 1/4 inch bigger than my original because I added an extra 1/2 inch or so. So it's going to be 1 1/4 inches by 9. So you're going to, and I use medium weight chipboard. So you're going to need those 3 pieces and flip it over, and I'm using some double-sided adhesive. If you want to use wet glue, that's fine, but I went ahead and got these prepped. And then to wrap the chipboard, I use, I have large cardstock, and this is 11 by 11 by 17 paper. You really need a sheet that's going to be 12 by 12, just won't quite make it. 11 by 13 inches. Now you can use 2 pieces of 8.5 and 11 and adhere them together. Just make sure when you go to add your chipboard that you put your spine piece on your seam so it's not a distress point. But people have asked where I get my large paper at, and I get it from the Paper Cut. And I like it because it's a 65-pound weight, so it's nice to wrap chipboard. It doesn't crack, and you don't have to worry about gluing pieces together. So I buy 11 by 17, and I have it in this craft color, which is called Desert Storm, I think, or Fossil. No, this is called Fossil, and then I have it in black, and I have it in a white, because those are usually the 3 main colors that I use to wrap. But they have all sorts of colors at the Paper Cut, and it's a really nice 65-pound weight for wrapping chipboard. So there you go. And I'll try to remember to put their website address in the bottom of the description box. So here we go. We've got these 2 pieces here. And I think I used probably, I'm going to say 10 to 12 sheets of solid cardstock for everything. And that's a pretty big estimate. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score my big piece of cardstock. Again, I've got it, it's 11 by 13. I've got the 13 inches here across the top, and I want to just make a score line just so I have a guide to keep my chipboard straight, and I'm going to do 1 inch. I think I did 1 inch. Let's just lay it out and see. How about that? Yep, so we're going to do 1 inch on the long side and 1 inch on the short side. Again, I'm going to score and turn it and score 1 more. And I want to make sure I don't poke through my paper, so I'm just going to slide my paper out. Okay, so we'll be done with our scoreboard. First thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap our chipboard pieces. So again, I went ahead and added my adhesive, my wet glue, all on the back. I'm going to remove the tape backing. And I'm going to line up the corner here with my corner score lines just to keep it straight. Stick it down. Okay. Then I'm going to add my spine piece, like so. Again, leaving a little space. Again, I like to do 3 widths of my chipboard, and then another space, and then we're good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and just run my bone folder around the 2 edges that I did not score originally, just to break up the fibers so I can wrap my chipboard. And I'm going to stand it up on the table, just start to fold it over. Now we're going to go ahead and add our adhesive to the perimeter and fold over and wrap our pieces of chipboard. Okay, I'm going to burnish my tape. And then I'm going to cut out the corners. Again, you do the corners how you like to do corners. You can either cut the square out, you can miter the corner, you can do whatever works best for you. I like the look of a mitered corner, so I'm going to just go ahead and do an angle like this. But again, you do the corners how you like to do the corners. That was a little crooked. Okay, I like to start with the long side first, and I'm going to take the backing off my tape. Okay, now we're going to do the short sides. Again, I'm going to take the backing off the tape. And I'm going to tuck my corner in and fold it over. Okay, we're all set. Now, even though the book's going to go this way, I'm having it face this way just it's easier for me to wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and find my creases really quick. My bone folder. And there we go. There you have it. So it's going to go like so. So now we need to cover up this little space here. So that piece is going to measure 4 inches by 8 3/4. So again, we got 4 inches by 8 3/4, and we're just going to center that top to bottom, left to right, just to cover that space there. So I'm going to go ahead and get my adhesive on here and stick it down. Okay, so I'm going to remove the tape backing. I like to put my score tape, again, you can use wet glue, whatever adhesive works best for you, around the outside, and then I fill in with my ATG gun, but I do like to add a strong adhesive right to the edges of the panels of my chipboard, just so you don't get any air bubbles underneath there. There's nothing worse than that. Ask me how I know. Again, the measurement for this was 4 inches by 8 3/4. And we're just going to line it up. Stick it down. Once I do have it stuck down, I'm going to find my creases again. Gently. You don't want to poke a hole in your paper. Ask me how I know. Okay, there we go. We're set. That's going to be our little cover. It's going to go just like this. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and make our waterfall mechanism here and our little accordion pocket. So get your cardstock ready and your scoreboard. I will give you the measurements. Here we go. We'll start with the waterfall first. The base, I like to create my waterfall on a base piece. It just helps me to keep it straight. So your base of your waterfall is going to measure 4 inches by 8 3/4. No scoring is needed on the base. Again, it's 4 inches by 8 3/4. So we're going to set that aside. And then let me just grab the original just so you know what pieces we're talking about here. Then we've got the closure flap here and this little smaller flap to close. So I'm going to give you those measurements next. For the smaller one, it needs to be 4 inches by 4 1/2. Oh no, sorry, that's the pocket. Well, you still need that piece, but it's not what I told you. This is the last pocket of the waterfall mechanism. It's going to be 4 by 4 1/2. So I'm going to set that aside. Here we go, my flaps. The one on the left, the larger one, is going to be 4 inches by 7 3/4. Again, 4 by 7 3/4. And then the smaller one is going to be 4 inches by 6 inches. Okay. And then all of your waterfall pages, which you will need 11 of these, are going to be 4 1/2 by 7. And again, you need 11 that are 4 1/2 by 7. And then again, that last pocket for the waterfall was 4 by 4 1/2. So let's go ahead and score our flaps. So let's take the 4 by 7 3/4 and put it in your scoreboard. And I just want to make sure I have it right. Okay. And you're going to put it in there, and with the 7 3/4 across the top, and we're going to score at 1 inch and 1 3/4 inches. Okay. So again, that's 1, and then again at 1 3/4. So that's the flap that's going to go on the left, and then the flap that's going to go on the right, we're going to score the same 1 inch. Let me just double check, because this is where I added my extra gusset measurement. 1 inch and 1 3/4. Okay. And again, that's the 4x6 piece. We got 6 inches across the top. We're scoring at 1 and 1 3/4. Set that aside. Again, the waterfall base we don't score. Now we're going to score that last little pocket. That's 4 by 4.5, and you're going to score 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So with your 4.5 across the, no, with your 4 inches across the top first, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Rotate it a 1/4 turn, so the 4.5 is across the top, and score at 1/2 inch. Rotate it again, so the 4 inches is back at the top, and we're scoring another 1/2 inch. So I have 1/2 inch on both ends of the 4 inch side, and 1/2 inch on one side of the 4.5 side. Okay, so that's the final pocket. Now for the waterfall pages. It's going to eventually end up looking like this. So we're going to put our 7 inches across the top. Okay, and we'll score a couple of these together. 7 inches across the top. The first score mark is going to be at, my little cheat sheet here, 1/2 inch, 3.5, and 6.5. So we've got 1/2 inch, 3.5, and 6.5. We're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn, just like that, and we're going to score at the 4 inch mark. Or it can be 1/2 inch, but I'm scoring it at the 4. It's easier for me on this side. Okay, so it should look just like that. So let's score another one here. So we're going to put it in here, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch, 3.5, and 6.5. Rotate it a 1/4 turn, score at 4. All right, so you're going to do that same thing to all 11 pieces of cardstock that are 7 by 4.5. So go ahead and score the rest of those. We're done scoring all 11 of those. So we're gonna, since we have the scoreboard out, we're just gonna go ahead and score the rest of our stuff. We'll set all the waterfall pieces aside. Now we're gonna do the, grab my little book here. We're gonna do this little piece here, the little accordion pocket. We're gonna score that next. And for that, you're going to need a piece that measures 8 inches by 10.5. Okay, so again, that's 8 inches by 10.5. And we're going to score with the 10.5 across the top. We're scoring at 3.5. And 7. No, 3.5 and 7.5. Sorry about that, people. Oh, 3.5 and 7.5. My bad. All right, so let's make that 3.5 and 7.5. Okay, so we're done scoring that. Then we're going to need 2 little pieces of cardstock that are going to measure 2 inches by 3 inches. And we're going to put those in there with the 2 inches across the top. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5. Do that to both pieces. Again, it's 2 inches by 3 inches, 2 inches across the top. We're scoring at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5. And we're done with that. So now we're going to go ahead and set that aside. That's our accordion pocket. We're done with our scoreboard. No, we're not done with our scoreboard. We're going to do our little score our little tags that are going to go inside our pockets of our little waterfall pages. And you're going to need 12 of these because we got 12 pockets. And these are going to measure 4 inches by 5.5. And you're just going to score them right in the middle at 2 3/4. Okay. So again, we got 12 of them, and we're going to put the 5.5 across the top, the 4 inches going this way, 5.5 here, and we're going to score at 2 3/4. And again, you're going to need 12 of those. So now we're done with the scoreboard. So the first thing I want to do, I went ahead and scored my other 10 pieces of cardstock for my tags. These are really simple, these little tags. You're going to just fold them in half, like so. And then to make the little tag shape, if you want, you don't have to, you can leave them like this. You can just round the corners, but I kind of thought they were kind of cute as a tag. So to do this, I have my corner chompers out here. And to get them to layer, I have the original pink one that was the angle in the photo, and I do know they brought this back as a retro one. So the angle corner on this is what I used on these. So I went ahead and folded them in half because, as you know, this is a chomper. It will go through thick materials. And I'm going to chomp on one side, flip it over, and the other. So I'm chomping the folded edge, and I'm chomping the other side opposite that on the short end right there. All right, so I'm going to do this one. Okay, and then when I went to put my design paper on here, the new one that they had come out with, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, that has a large angle and a small angle. The large angle is what I used on my design paper. Just right here. And as you'll notice, it measures, it layers really, really good. Okay, now if you don't have the retro one or this original one, you can use this one for both of them. Just use the large angle for the solid and then the small angle for the design paper. You'll just have a little smaller angle than I have, which doesn't really matter. Or you can just say, forget it, I just want to have a little folded insert. So either way works. But I went ahead and kind of cornered these already. And I'll give you these measurements when we get ready to go to the design paper here. So I have all 12 of my tag inserts ready. I'm going to set those aside. Now we're going to do our accordion pocket. So we've got our 2 little small pieces. We're just going to accordion fold those, or fan fold, or mountain valley, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter to me. So it looks like this. Do that to both of them. Set those aside. Now we're going to fold on our score line here. So we're going to fold one up, and then that shorter score line is going to go like this. So this is going to be our, I got it this way. The smaller piece is the bottom of our pocket, and this large is the larger piece is going to go on top. Okay. And now on my original, I rounded the corners just because I thought it looked nicer. So that's what I'm going to do. You can use whatever size corner rounder you want. I'm using this little 3-way punch here. I know We Are Memory Keepers has a 3-way punch. So on my, again, I'm punching just the flap. So the large section, I'm going to use the large round here and here. And then when I go to mat with my design paper, I'm going to use the medium one because then it'll layer really nice. And We Are Memory Keepers has one of these little triple punches too. So those are really nice to have. So now we've got that punched. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our little accordion pieces here. And I'm going to put them on the bottom. Now, because this is a 3-inch measurement, you might need to trim these, and that's what I'm going to do because you don't want any of this showing. So if you line this up, hopefully you can see this. Let me burnish that score line out because that was my little mistake. See how it's just a little sliver? You can see it at the top. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tape, and I want to put the 2 folded edges. You've got a fold, and a fold. I want the 2 folded edges facing to the outer edge. So I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive. And again, I'm going to use my score tape. If I can find it. I have this, but I didn't want to use that one. Let's see. Oh, I got another one down here. All right. So I'm going to take my adhesive, and again, I've got it flattened down. My 2 folded edges are to the left. I'm going to put a piece of score tape on the top and flip it over and put a piece on the back, on the bottom, I mean. I'm going to do that with both pieces. Again, my folded edges for this side are going to be to the right. And a piece on the top and a piece on the bottom. I'm going to put my tape on before I trim. I know why, I have no idea. But I'm going to go ahead and trim just a little bit. So, you know, if you wanted, you could make these like 2 7/8, or I just don't like weird measurements like that. Okay. So now let's make sure it's going to fit on there. Perfect. All right. So now what we're going to do is, again, I've got my 2 folds here facing to the left. I'm going to take the back off the bottom. Line that folded edge up, and the bottom is going to go right next to that score line, not over it, and stick it down. And I'm going to do the other side as well. Again, I've got my 2 folded edges facing out to the right. I'm going to take it off the bottom. And I'm going to stick it down. And hopefully y'all can see that I'll bend it back. So they're like right on, not on the fold, but right next to it, okay? So that way when we fold it up, there we go. So now all you have to do is take the backing off of the other side. Keep those pressed down and just fold up on that score line and stick it down. Like so. That's our little accordion pocket, okay? So now what I like to do, just so I don't get confused, is now that I have this ready, I'm going to go ahead and add, because I like to use double-sided tape. If you don't want to use double-sided tape, you can skip this part and use your wet glue later. But I'm going to just go ahead and add my tape on the back of here, so I can add it to my book when we get our design paper down. This is the back of the accordion pocket. Okay, so now I'm going to add a magnet closure. Again, magnets are optional, but I'm going to go ahead and add it now. And I am going to use one of these big ones, I think. No, I'll use a little one. I'm going to use one of the small basic grade magnets. They come, as you know, with a plus and a minus. I need one of each. And I'm going to attach my magnet here. I'm just going to pick one, take the backing off, and add it to the bottom. I put it in the middle. And then I'm going to take the backing off of the other magnet. Sticky side up, attach it to that one, close my lid. There's my magnet. And then I'm just going to put a little piece of tape just so it doesn't shift on me. Not that it will, but you know, you never know. I guess I'm going to set this aside for now. So there's our accordion pocket all ready to go. Now we're going to make our waterfall tag mechanism. So what you're going to need for this is you can use either scissors or a paper trimmer if you don't cut straight, which is the way I am. And so we're going to trim first. We're going to take all 11 of our pages plus our extra little pocket page. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start with our little individual waterfall page pocket, the one that was 4 by 4.5, we scored and made a little pocket. We're going to add our adhesive to these, just like this. So I'm just going to add it to the sides because I want to make this a little bit different than I normally would a pocket. I want to wrap my bottom piece to the back side. So that way there's nothing inhibiting my tag going all the way down because your tags have to fit all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so just put it on the two sides like so. And then flip it over and put it on the bottom piece on the reverse side. Close to the raw edge. Okay, so fold on my score line here. Fold on my score line here. Open those back up and fold on my score line here. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim out my corners. Like so. And like so. And I'm just going to trim them just a little bit. Okay. So now that is all ready to go. So when it's flat, you've got your adhesive on the top and your adhesive on the back. Okay, so let's set that piece aside. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer so we can trim those. But again, if you want to use scissors, I would use the big long ones because it's a little easier. But again, I don't cut straight. So I'm going to put this like here. I've got my little template here just so you can see exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to put it in here, and we've got that 1/2 inch score line along this bottom edge. We're going to cut it off from one edge and stop here at the center. Okay, so I'm going to flip it around this way just so it's easier for me. And I'm going to bring my blade, and I'm going to put it right on that 1/2 inch, and I'm going to stop right at that center score line. Okay, then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut that off. Okay. So I want you to do that to all 11 of your pages. So we'll do one more together. Got it in here, got my 1/2 inch score line in my cutting channel. I'm going to cut all the way up to that score line right there in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that off like so. So go ahead and do that to all 11 pages. Okay, now that we got all of these done, now I'm gonna fold first before I add my adhesive, just so you know exactly how it's going to fold. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this first one back, this one back, and then this last one here is gonna go back this way, okay? So then we have our bottom. So what we want to do on the bottom is we want the bottom to go around and attach to the back, okay? But I'm not going to fold that yet until I get everything trimmed. So it should look like this, okay? So let's fold one more. My pocket is this full piece with this little piece here is on the left. I'm going to fold that back. I'm going to fold this one back. And then I have this last one here. Oops, that's tucked in. This one is going to go back. That's going to be our little flap that we're going to add to our waterfall base to create the hinge so the page will turn, okay? And then this is going to go back. But the first thing we want to do before we do anything is we want to go ahead and cut a thumb notch out of our pocket before we put it together, just like I did here. Okay, so we're going to make this little thumb notch right here. So that way our little tags, the concept is you're supposed to be able to get them out easier. Okay, so there's our little inserts that we made. And they're going to go right in here, but we need to punch a little notch here. So you can use either a circle punch or your envelope punch board, and I'm going to use the envelope punch board. Okay, so I've grabbed my envelope punch board. And we're only going to punch this first panel right here. So when this is folded back and that's folded back, we just want our notch on this top piece. So the space between here and there should be 3 and, well, should be 3 and something. Let me see. Yeah, should be 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches. So we want to put we're going to fold this back. This first score line is going to be at 1.5. Okay, so you can either leave it folded if you want and put it on 1.5. And then you're going to punch. It's easier for me to just leave it flat open. Just line up that first little score line with the 1.5 mark and punch. And that should be right in the middle. Okay, so do that to all 12 because we have to do this and we have to do this little individual pocket too, which is the same measurement. So again, we're going to put this score line right here with the 1.5. And we're going to punch. All right, so we should have all these punched, even our little individual pocket, or using your circle punch or whatever. So we're done with that. We can put that away. All right, now let's go back to folding the rest of these and adding our adhesive. So again, we're going to fold this one, fold this one. So it looks like this is folded. This is going to go this right back like that. And then you're going to have this on the bottom, which is going to fold to the back. And we'll trim that as well. But I like to get all my folding. And again, since I like score tape, I'm going to go ahead and put my tape on first before I trim my corners. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish folding the rest of these. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm going to grab my tape and I'm going to seal up the side of my pocket. So let me get this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. right, I'm going to run my tape here, like so. And then since this is going to wrap to the back, I need to put my tape on the back of this bottom tab. So I'm going to flip the pocket over and put it back here, close to the raw edge. Okay, like so. So with my pocket like this, I've got tape on this side and on the back side. And now I'm going to go ahead and angle this corner. Probably easier to see from this side. Like so. And then I'm going to angle this little corner here. Like so. So it's going to go this way. We're going to seal it up. And then we're going to take this and fold it to the back and seal it up that way. And then this, we're not going to miter because this is our flap for our waterfall page. So we're going to go ahead and put our tape on all of these and seal up the bottoms, or seal up the sides and the bottoms of all of our little pages. But I'm going to add my tape first and then trim and then go back and fold them all. So let's do one more. We're going to put our tape on this corner, or this outside one here. Flip it over, add it to the back of this one. Now, if it's easier for you to cut your corners first, by all means do that. I just like to do it this way because I am going to trim that as well. I think I did on the first one. No, I didn't. All right, we'll do one more together and then we'll get the rest of them done. Again, the tape's going to go on this 1/2 inch tab here. So the 1/2 inch tab that has the bottom cut off, we're not putting tape on that yet. Then we're flipping it over and adding it to the back of the bottom tab. We're going to trim our corners off. Like so, and right there. So that way it looks nice and neat when it's full. All right, so go ahead and do the rest of your pages. Okay, so we got this all done. Now we're going to go ahead and put our pocket pages together. So we're going to take the backing off of the side piece. We're going to fold it over. It should line up with that score line, and then fold that score line back. Okay, and then we're going to take this bottom piece and close up the bottom. Now, it might not want to fit that great because we're going over some cardstock, but just make it work. So there's your pocket, and we've already got our little notch. Okay, So there's our notch, and the back is solid, and this is our waterfall flap for the page, okay? So let's do one more. We're taking the backing off this side, and we're gonna fold it over on that center score line. We're gonna flip it over, take the backing off of the bottom, and again, you might have to work it, and then fold that back, okay? That's our waterfall page. Now, the opening is going to be at the top here. We'll do one more together, and then we'll go ahead and finish the other side. Okay, there is 11 waterfall pages. This one I got a little wonky. I'm going to have to fix that one. So what we want to do now is with all these little pockets that we made, we are going to add our adhesive to the top of our tabs. If you're going to use score tape, if you're going to use wet glue, then wait and do that when we go to add them to the base. But I'm going to use my tape, and I'm going to add my tape to the tab, so that way when it's folded, the tape is on the back side. Okay. Okay, so we've got our tape added. If you're using tape, you're going to do wet glue. You're going to wait a minute till we get ready to add these to our base. And I do like to just burnish really well on my pages just to keep them, because they're pockets, so they're a little bulky, just to keep them flat. This is the one I'm going to have to fix, because that's going to bug me. All right, I used my trusty undo. It stinks to high heaven, but it works. And I'm going to go ahead and fix this now. The cool thing about undo is it's safe. Your paper, even your photos, and you can reuse the adhesive because it dries pretty fast. It evaporates. So I'm going to, that still looks crooked. I think I'll just add a new piece of tape. Undo works really well on double-sided tape, but you cannot use it if you use a wet glue, okay? It doesn't work on wet glue. I call it magic sauce, but it's not that magic. So I'm going to make sure this is going to get straight here. So that's another reason why I like score tape. All right, I fixed my page. Much better. Now we're going to attach our pages to our base. And I'm just gonna, here's a little tip that I learned from Kim Reynolds. If you struggle getting your pages on straight, use your scoreboard as a guide to help you line your pages up. And it does work, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But again, we've got our waterfall base, and it's gonna measure 4 inches by 8 3/4 inches. And I like to start from the top and work my way down. I am gonna turn my scoreboard this way. And I'm going to grab my first pocket page, and we're just going to line it up like we normally would. I just fold this back, take my tape backing off, and I have this butted up against my scoreboard here, and I'm just going to stick the first page down. Okay, here we go. So there's our first page. Then I'm going to fold it up, and I know it's kind of hard to see on camera, but there's the raw edge of my flap that I glued down. I'm going to take my second page, take the backing off, fold it back, and that folded edge is going to get butted up right up against that raw edge of my first page. And again, if you use your scoreboard, it makes it super, super easy to line up. Try not to get my head in the camera. Like so. There's our second page. And just continue going until you get to the last space, and then we're going to take our little pocket, and that's going to be our last page. Okay? And I'll show you how we're going to add that. So go ahead and continue adding all 11 of your pocket pages. Now this will fit right on here like so, just like this on the end. Okay, so again, we're going to take the back off of the one side here, and the other side, not the bottom, because we're going to wrap that around to the back. And I'm just going to stick this like so. Okay, and then we're going to flip it over and take this and attach it to the back like we did our pages. There we go. Oh my God, look. Cute, huh? See, it's pretty bulky. All right, so there's all the pages. Now, if you'll notice on my waterfall base, I have about, what is it, 1/8 of an inch. I made it a little bit bigger because I wasn't sure with all the bulk and the folding how much I was going to need. So you can go ahead and just take your scissors or put it in your paper trimmer and just trim that off. I better use my, no, I'm going to use my scissors. I'll live on the edge here. Just don't cut into your pocket. There. Okay, our waterfall is finished. There we have it. And we have our pocket. Now what we want to do is we want to add our flaps. Because the way this is going to work is we've got 2 flaps here. Let me get my scoreboard out of the way. We have the big one. We're going to fold on both of our score lines. And the large one is going to go on the left, and the small one is going to go on the right. So go ahead and fold on score lines on both of those. So what what you want to do is you want to just add adhesive to that first 1-inch section. The 3/4 inches is our gusset, so we're not putting any adhesive there. We're just putting adhesive on the back side of the 1-inch tab. So again, I'm going to use my tape. Same with the other piece. We're going to add it to the back side of the 1-inch tab. The 3/4 inch space is our gusset. Okay, so here's my waterfall. All of my openings are up at the top. Okay, this is the bottom of my tags or my pockets. The small one is going to go back here on the bottom, and the large one is going to go like so, just like that, to cover up our pages. And again, I added a gusset so that way you don't have that big bow like I do in mine. So go ahead and attach the top one first. Take the backing off. You can flip it over and line it up right on that score line. Stick it down. Okay. And then there's my gusset. And I'm going to flip it over and add the bottom one. Ooh, I added that wrong, didn't I? And again, there's my gusset. So it's going to go like so. Just like, oopsie, this. So it's nice and square. We're going to add a magnet there. All right, to keep it closed. It should look just like that. I need to take my eraser. Hold on. All right, so let's add our magnet. I think for my waterfall, I am going to use a big one. You don't have to, but I think I will instead of a little one. I think I used a small one on the other one, but I just don't want it to pop open. Not that it will, because they're pretty strong, but use what you got. So again, I'm going to just try to figure out where these overlap. Make sure that you keep it square. So, like so. So I think I'm going to mark where they meet with a pencil. Let's try this again. Square it up, square it up. So right there is where the edge of this bottom flap is going to attach. So I'm going to put my magnet right in the middle of that. So again, I'm going to just kind of center it. And take the backing off the other one. And now here's where you got to make sure you keep it square. Press it down. These big ones are really strong. There we go. Alrighty, we did it. Like so. Hopefully that's square. Yep. So that's our waterfall mechanism. Now we're going to grab our little book that we made. it's going to go like this. We're going to go ahead and before we add our pieces here, we're going to add our design paper because they are going to, you're going to have a space here. And then this is going to go at the top like so. And then we'll have paper here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my 2 pieces of design paper for this and for this. And let's see what we got here. I wanted them to be the same. Because the bottom edge, this was a little short, the bottom edge isn't really going to show, just the top edge. I'm okay with that. But for this piece, it needs to measure 4 1/4 by 8 3/4. So again, it's 4 1/4 by 8 3/4. That's because I like an 1/8 of an inch border. If you want a smaller, like a 1/16 of an inch border, then you'll need to adjust your measurements accordingly. But I don't like to deal with 8s. So I'm going to put that right there. And I'm going to put that right there. And this is white core paper, so I'm going to just lightly ink the edges because I don't like to see the white. I'm using walnut stain chalk, right? Again, I don't want to see the white core, even though this is a little short. It's not, you're not going to see it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this to here. And this to here. And again, you can use whatever adhesive you want to use. I'm just going to use my tape down here. Okay, so then this is going to go right here. I'm going to go ahead and put my design paper on before I lined the bottom edge of my waterfall mechanism with the bottom edge of my paper. So you don't really see any of the red there, but you do see it on the sides and the top. Well, not the sides, but you see it on the top. Okay, so I'm going to add my papers first before I glue this down. Same with this one. This one's just going to get centered, left to right, top to bottom. You see a little bit border all the way around. All right. Okay, so here we go. Papers. Let's see. I'm going to use one of these cut aparts for this one. And you know what? I did that wrong. I really wanted that to go this way. I had it right. Yeah, I want it to go this way. Well, we're going to fix that in a minute. Okay. So if you're going to use a cut apart like me, you want to put your magnet on the back of here and on the top of this one. So see, this is what happens when you don't have your papers out in front of you. So I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to put this present paper on the inside. And then I'm going to put this solid green here. And then on the inside, I've got these cute little soldiers right there. Okay. Again, the measurements for this, again, I just do 1/4 of an inch smaller. So this panel from the score line here measures 6 inches. And this measures 4. So I made it 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. This one I measured is 4 1/4 by 4. So again, it's going to be 4 inches by 3 3/4. But again, use your ruler. It's I can give you the measurements, but some people like a different border than I like. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and get all my design papers on, and then we'll come back and show you the finished product.